Some of the most interesting CEOs and leaders I've met are highly sensitive. This is one of the most important topics that you will ever hear about if you are indeed highly sensitive. And if you're not highly sensitive, you also will gain a lot from this video. About 20% of people are highly sensitive, but I would actually argue that a higher percentage of leaders are highly sensitive in a knowledge-based economy. So I encourage all of my CEOs who are watching and all of my bankers and venture capitalists and angel investors to take a more wide-eyed view of what leadership is, because leadership in the 21st century can look like this. Being highly sensitive is not gender specific. In fact, there are as many highly sensitive men as there are women, although it can be harder to be a highly sensitive male in some societies. Now, in some cultures like the American culture, historically sensitivity has not been as valued, but I believe that going forward it's going to be much more valued in the 21st century. You actually are more sensitive to things like light, noise. You also are highly intuitive. You're probably better at reading body language than anyone else. If you go into a meeting, you can pick up on who's having a bad day. It's intuitive. It's inside you. You know what's going on in the room, behind what's going on in the room, behind what's being said. It's actually a wonderful skill to have. As some of you know, I was placed on the Thinkers 50 Guru Radar list for the world's top business thinkers for my thought leadership on what I call the yin and yang of leadership. Well, high sensitivity has something to do with it. Previously, I worked in executive search based in New York City for about 18 years. I've met leaders who are both highly sensitive and high sensation seekers, and they make for some wonderful and dynamic leaders. If you think of people like a Richard Branson, okay, he's kind of the classic example of someone who's got that risk-taking gene, but also that sensitivity gene. I think he's probably the best example that I could give you, but there are other CEOs like that. They are able to take risk, but also manage risk, and they are some of the most amazing and sensitive leaders I've ever met. There's a wonderful book written by Dr. Elaine Aron called The Highly Sensitive Person. It was written back in the early 90s. She identified a gene for high sensitivity. It's actually a gene in 20% of people, and it's a perfectly natural thing. It's a wonderful thing in the 21st century. You can take the self-test, and it's about 26 questions, and find out if you are highly sensitive. If you are, it's a very important topic for you to know about. She also has identified another gene called the high sensation seeker gene, and she's got a self-test for that, so I encourage you to take both tests on her website. The best analogy I've ever heard for sensitivity was by a gentleman named Dr. Ted Zeff, and he spoke about how during the tsunami in Thailand years ago, there were a lot of people killed in the tsunami, but there were very few animals killed. The reason is because the highly sensitive animals started walking up the hills for higher ground. As an example, in the elephant species, about 20% of any species are highly sensitive. The highly sensitive elephants started walking up the hills before the tsunami came because they sensed danger in the air. It's almost like a sixth sense. The other elephants followed because in many animal species, high sensitivity is highly valued. They know that those elephants know something that they don't know. That is a perfect example of why you should follow your highly sensitive leader's advice sometimes. If you like mountain climbing, being at the top of the ski mountain, if you have an interest in motorcycles, chances are you are a high sensation seeker. But interestingly, I've met leaders who have both of these genes. You will find that highly sensitive people are people that are willing to listen to your problems. They're people that are willing to empathize with you. They're people that are willing to take the time out of their day to solve problems and help come up with creative solutions. You will often be innovating before others. You will take on challenges that are quite difficult in the workplace or in the economy, or let's say conscious capitalism or sustainability may appeal to you. About 70% of highly sensitive people are introverts, but 30% are extroverted, so it's actually a mix. If you know the Myers-Briggs personality type, a lot of highly sensitive leaders that I've met are actually intuitive on Myers-Briggs. Now, some are thinkers and some are feelers, but often they have the intuitive side because they have that sixth sense about things, that intuition. If you work in a people-oriented profession, chances are it will definitely help you to be highly sensitive. As an example, a lot of coaches, executive coaches, or therapists or psychologists are more sensitive. They have to be in order to understand the dynamics of people. I wanted to record this video in part because I want highly sensitive leaders to be more comfortable with themselves and be able to express it to other people. You are wonderful the way you are, and so while other people may try and make you like them, my goal is to have you appreciate who you are because you have some wonderful qualities. It's important for those people who don't have the highly sensitive gene to also understand that your friend or family member may experience things differently than you do. I can give you many, many examples. Flying on an airplane, driving in a car. These are things that are more difficult for highly sensitive people. Why? Because they are more sensitive to every single noise that goes on, every single light that changes when you're driving in a car, every car that pulls out, everything they are more sensitive to, so they have to react to it. Now, that can make them safer drivers, but it can also take a lot out of them. So I've found in my own experience, now I lived in a city like New York for 18 years previously, so I didn't drive and it worked well for me. A lot of people in cities don't drive, but what I've found is that I need to be more careful about driving or flying. Now that I'm older, I'm even more sensitive to those types of things. And so it's important for you to understand who you are. Many highly sensitive people will find themselves in jobs that may not be a fit for them. As an example, if you are in a job that requires a lot of extroversion and you're an introvert, that can be very wearing on you. So as an example, if you're in a sales job, you want to make sure that it leverages your intuitive and your introverted side if you are an introverted, intuitive, sensitive person. Because otherwise you may be worn out at the end of the day. And over many years, if you are worn out by your job, it's going to lead to poor health, both mentally and physically. So you need to make sure that you make those career changes if you are a highly sensitive person. Make sure that you shift into something that's better suited for you. There's a wonderful book on careers on Amazon called Do What You Are, and I recommend that book, Do What You Are, based upon Myers-Briggs. It will help you figure out if you are an INFP or an INTP, what are the best careers for you. Whatever your personality type is on Myers-Briggs, there are some careers that may be better suited for you. And while we shouldn't select people for careers based upon Myers-Briggs, we can learn ourselves what are the best career paths for me based upon my personal interests and my personality type. I actually discovered that I had the highly sensitive gene about 10 years ago, and ever since I found out, I've been a lot more comfortable with who I am. I'd like to talk a little bit about my own personal journey about discovering my sensitivity, because when you are younger, you may not understand it, especially if a lot of people around you are not highly sensitive. It is something that is probably handed down within families, but you may find that you are the only one in your immediate family who's highly sensitive, or maybe there are two of you, but other people around you, chances are not highly sensitive. People that are highly sensitive have a sixth sense. They know when danger is approaching. I sometimes know just by the nature of that sixth sense. I'll give you an example. One time I was on the back of a motorcycle. Yes, I've been on a motorcycle several times actually. With a wonderful man who's a very good driver. We had the full equipment on. We had the earphones to be able to talk to one another. We had plotted the trip, checked for the weather, made sure everything was just right. But sure enough, when we started going up this mountain, there was danger approaching because the weather started to change. Now, I didn't know why, but I could tell that something bad was about to happen. It was just a sixth sense. And so I started to get a little bit nervous. Fortunately, my driver, who's a wonderful man, was able to calm me down. and give me the opportunity to talk about some things that would take my mind off of the danger. But when we got up to the top of the mountain, what happened was it started snowing. It snowed really heavily, and this was in March in Arizona. We never expected snow. We were looking for rain, but sure enough, it started snowing on that mountain. So we had to get off of that mountain. Now, my highly sensitive side said, let's pull over and think about this problem. It was getting really dicey on that mountain. We pulled over. We thought about it for a while. We tried to get back on the motorcycle after we cleared the windshield. It still wasn't working right. I said, we've got to pull over again. We pulled over the second time, and fortunately, an angel driver and his wife came over and said, do you guys need some help? And sure enough, they drove me off that mountain. We actually rode behind my friend who was driving the motorcycle to make sure things were safe and other cars and trucks were not passing. It was a one-lane road down that mountain, and he was brave enough to get that motorcycle off that mountain. I've never seen such bravery. And we were able to drive behind him and make sure that no one would pass him so that he was safe. We actually made a wonderful team. You know, he actually has a highly sensitive side, but he's also a high sensation seeker. Some of the most dynamic CEOs I've ever met have both genes. When it's 20% of people, it's actually a perfectly natural trait, so you should feel comfortable being highly sensitive. Being highly sensitive is a positive thing in the 21st century. I love masculine leaders. They are dynamic, they're aggressive, they're competitive, they have so many wonderful qualities. I also love feminine leaders because they tend to be a little more cautious, more conscientious perhaps. They tend to be a little bit more risk averse. But this yin and yang of leadership is so important in the 21st century, and I can tell you one thing, that masculine and feminine leaders make a wonderful team. So if you are highly sensitive, whether you're a man or a woman, this video is for you. First, we need to define high sensitivity. You know, if people tell me that their daughter-in-law is afraid of flying on planes, or if their son-in-law is uncomfortable giving public speeches, I say, well, chances are they're highly sensitive. And if they just get more comfortable with their sensitivity, they can then learn what they can do and what they can't do. The goal isn't to be like everyone else. As an example, I'm much better at recording videos than I ever would be getting in front of a group of 1,000 people. But I know that about myself, so I do what works for me. I go online, I get on the video camera, I do one-on-one executive coaching virtually. That works for me. You need to find out what works for you. So I encourage you to value your sensitivity and to figure out what works for you. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got when I had an executive coach years ago was do what works. Don't do what other people say you should do, because what works for them may not work for you. Do what works for you. Do what works. Find more highly sensitive people by nature of the type of work they're doing. If they're doing intuitive work or introverted type work, they may have a sensitive side. When you are highly sensitive, you need some downtime, you need some alone time to process all of the sensory experiences that you take on. So you may need more quiet time than other people. Another important thing to know is that you're probably not well suited for bullpen office environments, because all of the noises around you will distract you more than the average person. So I would tell CEOs watching this to recognize that your highly sensitive leaders probably need a quiet office space. I've always thrived either in an office behind closed doors or in a quiet room at home. I have never been efficient in an environment where there's noise. I don't work well when the radio is on or the TV is on. I need complete silence. Otherwise, I am distracted by the noises around me. Another example that you may be highly sensitive would be is if you go to restaurants and you don't like loud restaurants, or you don't like the television going or the sports going in a sports bar. You may be more sensitive to things like smoke. You're more sensitive to smell. You're more sensitive to everything around you. And so you may find that when you go to a restaurant, you don't like your food super hot because, see, it will be hotter to you than to other people. Or as another example, noises around you will be louder than they are for most people. That's an important piece of advice for the highly sensitive leaders. Why will highly sensitive leaders be so important going forward? Well, one of the reasons is we are in an age of digital transformation, mechanical robots. There will be a lot of things changing about the business world. There will be fewer full-time jobs. People will have to work part-time or on project basis. For all of these reasons, we need leaders who are more intuitive, empathetic, creative in their solutions. We need to have people that understand the changing economy as well as the way it will impact society. We will need political leaders who are more sensitive. We will need leaders at every level of society who have sensitivity. This is such an important thing for leadership going forward. It won't just be about making money anymore in business. It will be about creating businesses that improve the lives of other people. Social entrepreneurship is increasingly evolving. B corporation status, conscious capitalism, sustainability. If you don't know what these themes are, you will soon. We need more highly sensitive leaders out there building this economy and building this future. We need people who are sensitive to gender inequality. We need people who understand poverty better because we need to provide for all of the people on the planet. We live in a world that is running out of resources like water, food, energy. We need to share resources. We need to create more resources. We need to make sure that we are doing things better than they've ever been done, because it's actually being integrated into business models, and people are figuring out how to make money by being more sustainable and doing things differently. So some of the most dynamic leaders in sustainability are highly sensitive. And that is why we need you, the highly sensitive leader for the 21st century. I'd like to describe how to manage your day if you're a highly sensitive leader. First off, when you get up in the morning, it's important not to have an alarm clock that makes a negative noise. You need to have an alarm that is like a light ring or a sensitive type appealing noise, perhaps classical music, whatever it is that you like. Make sure that it is something soft-spoken and appealing to you but wakes you up. Then I want you to lie in bed for an extra 10 minutes and get used to the idea of waking up. I don't want you to jump out of bed, because how you start your day is going to impact the rest of your day. Make sure that you have comfortable routine when you get up in the morning. Have your breakfast. Have whatever you like. Don't drink too much caffeine. A little bit is okay, but not a lot. Make sure that you have breakfast. You need 3 meals a day and 2 snacks to make sure that your rhythm is working properly. So try and have that breakfast by 8:30 in the morning, and then a mid-morning snack at about 10 a.m. If you like unsalted almonds, anything with protein, those are good snacks throughout the day. But try and have those 3 meals and a couple of snacks to make sure that you keep your system going. Make sure that you drink enough water throughout the day. Don't get dehydrated. You also want to make sure that when you go through your emails in the morning, perhaps you don't schedule a morning meeting. I actually prefer to have either midday meetings or afternoon meetings, whatever works for you. There is a gene for being a morning person. So if you're a morning person, chances are you're going to want to have the meetings early in the morning. But if you're a night owl like me and a highly sensitive, you will want to have those meetings later in the day. Do what works for you. If you are a morning person, schedule your morning activities. But if you're not, make sure that you make the morning quieter, catching up on emails, not interacting with a lot of people. Save that for later in the day when you're at your best. Also, as a highly sensitive person, you may not want to have the telephone ringing all the time, so you may turn off your phone from time to have some quiet time to catch up on really difficult thinking type work. There are different ways you need to manage your schedule. Perhaps you won't always react to every email coming in. You'll put your phone on the off signal. You'll be able to take time on your computer projects to work on them without the distraction of, is there another email coming in? Another thing I would say is don't schedule too many meetings that are big meetings with large groups back to back. You need time to catch up. You need time to have quiet time in between those big conference call meetings. You need time to quiet down in between big group interactions. It's really important to have your central nervous system calm down. So don't schedule tons of meetings back to back. The other thing that you want to do is to make sure that when you go to bed at night, you want to turn the lights down, dim them a little bit. Make sure that your computer screen is not super bright. You'll want to get your eyes acclimated to softer light so again your central nervous system can calm down. Don't listen to negative news in the evening before you go to bed because that's only going to upset you. You need to read your news in the morning. I want you to be well read, but you don't have to listen to negative news at night. That's probably the worst thing that you can do as a highly sensitive. The other thing I would say is don't watch a lot of violent movies if you don't like them. Those can actually upset you as well. Calm your central nervous system down before you go to bed because you need a good night's rest. You need to get a good night's sleep as a highly sensitive leader. So make sure that you're doing all of these things throughout the day. You also may find that you like quieter restaurants like I do. So make sure that you schedule those meals at quiet restaurants. Don't go to the sports bars if you don't like them. In fact, you don't even have to participate in sports if you don't like sports. I've learned over the years, even though I have been on the golf course, I've shot a hole-in-one, I've won a skeet shooting tournament, I've been on the motorcycle. Personally, I'm perfectly comfortable doing gentle exercise, walking on a treadmill, walking outside, or doing yoga. I prefer gentle exercise, and that's okay if you're a highly sensitive leader. You don't need to do what everyone else does. It's okay if you're not super competitive because you have other things to offer the world. It's okay if you don't want to follow all the sports or the sports scores or the football games. If I watch the Super Bowl, it's to watch the commercials and to rate the commercials the next day. I don't really follow sports other than a few things on golf or tennis. So if you like sports, that's fine. But if you don't, that's okay too. I actually prefer going to a ballet or an opera over going to a sporting event. I like softer music. I like classical music because it's less intrusive to my central nervous system. If I go to a sports stadium, it immediately makes me uncomfortable because of all of the noise. As a highly sensitive person, you will live and learn these things, and you will learn how to live differently because you are highly sensitive. If you're a highly sensitive person, you probably love libraries, you love reading, you love having quiet time, you love being by yourself and learning new things. Leverage that time to learn new things. You don't need to go out and do things. Learn some new things. That's part of the value of being a highly sensitive leader. Share your intellectual capital with other people, with your team, with your clients. Get into a business that works for you. Make sure that you are leveraging your intellectual capacity and your intuitive skills if you are highly sensitive. Don't try and be competitive or something that doesn't work for you, because if you do it over a repeated time period, you will burn out, I guarantee you. Burning out is the worst thing that you can do as a highly sensitive because it can take years to overcome that. Get into something that works for you. You don't want to hurt your health. You want to be who you are naturally as you are. And that is my gift to you. If you are a highly sensitive leader, you will need to go to conferences or attend seminars or come up with interests or hobbies that may be different than other people. In other words, the new age of spirituality is going to be appealing to you. You're going to want to learn some new things beyond what your culture may teach you. America was historically developed by people that were hard-charging, competitive, but now what we're finding is that the next level for America, certainly in a knowledge-oriented economy, will be people that are more intuitive, empathetic, soft-spoken perhaps, sensitive. These are all leadership qualities for the 21st century. I'd like to talk about how to communicate your sensitivity to other people in the workplace or at home. It's really important that you become comfortable talking about your sensitivity as a positive thing. Now, if you are in a work environment where the leadership wants people to be the same, I call it a sensor culture on the Myers-Briggs, if you're familiar with the Myers-Briggs personality test, it will be a little bit more of a challenge to communicate. But if you are in a culture that accepts people's differences, it will be quite easy to communicate. There are companies that value people's differences more than others, and a lot of this is set at the top of the house by the personality of the people in charge. It's actually pretty easy. The best way to do it is to say that it's actually a gene, that 20% of people are highly sensitive, and it's a wonderful quality in some ways. And you can give the example of the tsunami that I gave you earlier in the video. But you can also say that there are some things that are not so great about it, in that noises distract you more than they might other people who are not highly sensitive, smells, those types of things. And so you have to have some quiet time, you need some time to unwind, and there are just some things that are different about you. The nice thing is that if you are vulnerable and share how you are different, oftentimes I think you'll get a positive reaction. People open up to people who have vulnerabilities, and chances are the person that you're speaking to has their own vulnerabilities. And the more that you're willing to express your vulnerable side, perhaps the more that they will feel comfortable sharing their vulnerable side. Another thing about high sensitivity is that you want to make sure that you manage your schedule so that it works for you. You don't want to have your central nervous system overstimulated all day long. So again, you will need some quiet time to relax, to meditate, to think. A lot of times people need time to think and process information and come up with more creative solutions. And therefore you will need quiet time as a highly sensitive leader. If you're a highly sensitive leader, chances are you manage your team a little bit differently than other leaders. Perhaps you spend time having one-on-one conversations with each member of your team more frequently than other leaders. You enjoy that one-on-one conversation and the ability to help empathize with other people, walk in their shoes, and give them some pointers about how to move forward. Other traits of a highly sensitive boss or manager would be that they are able to be more empathetic to challenges that their people may face, and they're willing to listen and make some changes or adjustments. They recognize that not everyone is the same, that there are sensitive people that are like them that may need to do things differently. I'd like to talk for a moment about setting boundaries. If you're a highly sensitive individual, chances are you're going to have to learn how to speak better and communicate better than a lot of other people. Because when people ask you to be like them, you're going to have to communicate the boundary and explain to them how you're different. It's the worst thing that highly sensitive people can do is try and be like everyone else, because it creates things like anxiety, depression. It creates a lot of issues for people. But once you realize that you're highly sensitive and it's a perfectly natural thing, you can then communicate it to other people who want you to be just like them and explain that you're different and it's perfectly natural. And then you alleviate any need to have anxiety or depression because you are accepting yourself for who God made you. It's such a wonderful skill to be able to set a boundary with people. I've learned a lot about this because I've read a lot of books on it, but there's some wonderful books out there on how to be in the work environment as a highly sensitive person, how to better manage your time, how to better do things differently. Like as an example, if you do have to go on an airplane, make sure that you bring all of the things that you need, whether it be a pillow, a blanket, those special earphones that drown out noise. Classical music is a wonderful way to calm your central nervous system. Every bump, every piece of turbulence is going to be harder for highly sensitive people, so they need to have those tools with them on an airplane to make it an easier ride. You know, I traveled a lot in my lifetime, but over a period of time, what I realized is I had been to every place I wanted to visit, and I needed to cut way back on my travel because it was actually contributing to anxiety and depression, and it was worsening my health. So if you find that traveling is taking too much out of you, cut back on your travel. You don't have to be like everyone else. This is so important for people to understand. You know, a lot of people go to a doctor and they say, oh, let me give you this pill to help your anxiety or your depression. What we've found is that many people who are prescribed these pills don't need these pills. They just need to change their lifestyle to adapt to being highly sensitive in their central nervous system. So I encourage you to really read up more on this topic. It's really important for you. For anyone suffering from any type of anxiety or depression, of course, you need to consult a doctor. Make sure that you also read up a lot on the topic and make sure that you are consulting more than just one doctor's opinion. Make sure that you have the right solution for you. Because if you talk to people that are alternative medicine doctors, or if you ask Deepak Chopra, he will say there are things like meditation and other things that can help you in your journey. One of my enlightenments came when I went out to California and attended a Deepak Chopra conference and realized that there are a lot of wonderful people out there just like me who have more sensitive sides. So I encourage you to look into some of those types of things if you are experiencing any anxiety or any depression. We all need to think about developing our sensitive side in a much more positive way. If those topics appeal to you, you are what we need in the future of leadership. The highly sensitive leaders will be partnering with all of the aggressive, competitive masculine leaders to create a brighter future for the world. Look, I love masculine leaders, and I love all kinds of leaders, but you as a highly sensitive leader need to understand what you are good at, because we need you right there, side by side, with those aggressive, competitive leaders, leading the way to a brighter future. And I call that the yin and yang of leadership. The masculine and feminine are working together to create a great team. I have seen so many teams over the course of my career at the very top levels, CEO teams, executive teams, in every industry. And what I have observed is that when there are women and men on a team and diversity of all kinds, you will always have a better team. If you don't have 3 women on your CEO team, any CEO today can find at least 3 women for a CEO team, and you need those 3 voices of women to create that feminine leader voice. So go out there and make sure that you find those sensitive leaders, both men and women, to add to your team. Make it more interesting, make it more dynamic. The sensitive leaders may not look like you, they may look like this, but make sure that you have them on your CEO team. I shared with World Economic Forum that year, in 2011, that investing in the feminine leadership style is the largest economic opportunity worldwide, and they placed me on the cover of the Davos debates. I've been talking about it ever since, and I wanted to share today why highly sensitive leaders, both men and women, will lead the way in the 21st century. The feminine leadership style and the masculine leadership style get along very well when we have the mix of some highly sensitive leaders. There are a lot of people in sales, believe it or not, who have highly sensitive sides. They're good at understanding body language and selling to other people. The hard part of being highly sensitive is that you can become drained from being around other people too much, so you will need some quiet time to go back into your quiet space. One of the best things that you can do as a highly sensitive person is understand things like meditation, be able to do yoga, be able to listen to classical music to quiet down your central nervous system. Unlike some people who may unwind by going for a jog or going for a really difficult bike ride, chances are if you're highly sensitive, you need to do the opposite. You need to listen to classical music, meditate, do yoga. You need to be in your quiet time. Before I go to sleep at night, I always listen to something very positive, either a video on a spiritual topic or classical type music. It helps my central nervous system calm down to a level that I can then get to sleep more easily. Now, I am sensitive to noise, so I do wake up in the middle of the night. That's just part of being a highly sensitive person, so that they can sense danger before other people. It's a really important skill in life, whether it be sensing that burglar coming into your home or hearing something drop before other people that you can then find and pick up, or as another example, being able to pick up on sensitivities about a family dynamic or a group dynamic at the office where someone is trying to emotionally manipulate other people. Highly sensitive people can pick up these danger signs much quicker than other people. I'd like to recommend some other books and authors that you really need to take a look at if you are a highly sensitive leader. First off, I want to make sure that you read the book by Dr. Elaine Aron about being a highly sensitive person. Take the self-test for high sensation seeker as well, because you may be both. You can check out her website at hsperson.com. I also would like you to take a look at Dr. Ted Zeff's website, because he actually has a lot of really important information, especially for highly sensitive males. So men, please check out Ted Zeff. Third, there's a wonderful book about nonviolent communication, and if you are highly sensitive, you need to learn how to communicate really well. So I encourage you to take a look at Marshall Rosenberg's book on nonviolent communication. It's a wonderful book on expressing yourself in a nonviolent way. And if you are around people who have poor communication skills or communicate in a more aggressive fashion, it's important for you to know how to calm down situations. If you are in a situation where you're communicating with someone and they erupt in a bit of rage or anger, one of the things that you should do is probably calm things down by saying, "I can't talk to you right now," and walking away from the room for the time being in a nice way, because that way the other person will calm down and come back to their center. If you want to communicate in positive fashions, sometimes we need to help people be better at communicating. That's part of being highly sensitive. What was interesting about my childhood is I was very shy and quiet when I was young. I was almost afraid to speak up in class, and so I didn't do a lot of talking in the classroom. But now that I've been through a professional career that required me to become a better salesperson and to talk quite a lot, I actually am very good at public speaking. When I go to a meeting, I'm very comfortable speaking up. In fact, sometimes you probably have a hard time getting me to stop talking. I'm an excellent communicator, so I've really been able to develop those skills based upon practice. One of the things that I did that was really helpful was to take a media communications training class. I actually took 12 classes at a university on how to be on television, and it was really helpful for me in terms of communicating and gaining confidence. I encourage all of you to record yourself on a video camera on your computer and practice speeches or conversations that you need to have, and get more comfortable with communicating better. Look at your body language. Get more comfortable with communication. And if you do things visually, if you are a visual learner like I am, using that video camera is a great way to practice any kind of speech or presentation. There are different types of learning styles. Some people are auditory learners. They learn by hearing things. Other people are visual learners. They learn by looking at things. For me, I really learn well looking at things. I'm a visual learner. So as an example, if I wanted to improve my golf game or my tennis game, I had to see myself on camera and see I wasn't bending my knees or I wasn't swinging right. I then was able to improve. Same thing is with communication. I encourage you to get on that video camera and start talking, giving a practice speech, rehearsing a communication that you need to have with someone else, because it really helps you to communicate better. You can also take a class at your local university. Go out there and learn how to do better at public speaking. It's an excellent skill for all of you who are highly sensitive. Try writing, try different things, try whatever you may be good at, because chances are if you are highly sensitive, you'll probably be good at writing or speaking, and you need to get even better. So go out there and learn some new things. You can also take the MAPP test, the MAP test at assessment.com. It's a wonderful test which will help you in your career journey. Or if you want to go a step further, take the Johnson-O'Connor test. And that's a wonderful 2-day test. It costs a bit of money, but you get a debrief with a consultant and will learn a lot about yourself. I encourage you to do some self-exploration as a highly sensitive leader. There are a lot of things that you need to know. You may need to turn down a job that requires too much travel, because traveling can be hard on your central nervous system. You may need to do things differently than other people. You may need more quiet time than other people. If you're highly sensitive, value your sensitivity, because there are many skills that you have that other people don't have. As an example, you're probably better at conducting a meeting both one-on-one and also in a full group of people Why? Because you can read body language probably better than anyone else in that room. So make sure that you leverage your sensitivity in positive ways. I found that the one-on-one executive coaching and career coaching works really well for my sensitive side because I am able to give one person my full attention and really understand walking in their shoes, empathizing with them, and then helping them craft a journey of next steps for their career or their leadership issues. I'm able to coach people on executive presence, communication. I'm able to look at them, conduct a meeting or do a speech and suggest new things. I'm able to write. I'm very good at writing. You'll often find that highly sensitive people are good writers and are able to tell a story on paper very well. These are things that highly sensitive people are really good at. They're good at editing other people's essays. They're good at doing so many things. But what we have to learn is to value highly sensitive people and highly sensitive leaders for who they are, not for who we wish them to be. And that's the other thing I would say about highly sensitive leaders is they are willing to accept people for who they are, all the 16 personality types. They're willing to walk in other people's shoes and realize that other people's journey may be different than theirs. They are able to manage people better oftentimes because they do accept people for being different. They accept people for being innovative, creative, dressing differently, whatever it is. They like people who are different. Highly sensitive people will be more open to innovation and creativity, and that's why we need so many more of them in both the corporate world as well as in the entrepreneurial world. Investing in highly sensitive people would probably be one of the most important things you could do if you're an angel investor. I think that we need to invest in a lot more of these individuals because while they may not need venture capital or want to create huge businesses, if you invest in all those highly sensitive leaders, give them a little bit of money, we'll get this economy going, I promise you. So look out for those people who are more highly sensitive or creative or quieter or maybe different, because they are people that you may want to be investing in. They're often very committed to their businesses. They're very conscientious. They're willing to work hard, often 12-hour days. They are very passionate about what they do, and lots of times it's those introverted people that are really worth investing in as entrepreneurs because they're going to work a lot harder than anyone else out there. It's not always the people that talk the good game and are extroverted that are the ones you want on your team. Sometimes it's the introverts or the highly sensitive people who are the ones you want to invest in. It's been a wonderful thing for me to realize that my sensitivity can be used in a really positive way. When I was working in executive search in a big city, I liked it, but I found that the noises around you may wear on you over time. I found that I was very highly sensitive to noise, so it was harder to sleep at night if I didn't have an apartment that had really good windows and was in a quiet part of the building. I would actually prefer to be in the back of the building in a very quiet apartment as opposed to having a view, because along with the view comes noise. So you really have to make sure that you find the right thing for you. It's important that you not have too much sunlight in your apartment or your workspace because you will be impacted by the heat much more than other people. I can tell you so many ways that I learned about my sensitivity. I could create a whole laundry list. It's very interesting to know how we're so different. But again, the positive side of sensitivity is enormous if you use it appropriately. One of the main things you need to do is to find a career that fits highly sensitive people and highly sensitive leaders. In my case, I've been able to combine my executive coaching and career coaching skills with media presentations and interviews. I really enjoy creating DVDs and spending time on creative type work and video work. It allows me to use my creative skills in a quiet setting and use my creativity to its best advantage. So I really enjoy the one-on-one coaching that I do along with the creative type work that I do. I would encourage all of those angel investors out there to consider people who are more on the quiet side and more introverted and more sensitive. They could be wonderful investments for you. There are examples of how highly sensitive leaders can cut through difficult problems and create a communication flow between top management and other people in the office. I've always been an innovator by nature, and so I've not been afraid of tackling difficult topics. You can certainly see that in some of my work around women in leadership. I was able to go to an NACD meeting, a National Association of Corporate Directors meeting, and raise my hand and ask why weren't there more women on corporate boards. It actually has been rather low at about 15-16% at that time. So we talked about it, and at the end of the meeting, all of the women in the room, of course, came up and wanted to meet me because I was willing to raise my hand and speak on a difficult topic that everyone was thinking who was a woman in the room. But I've always been one who is more sensitive to issues like that and is willing to raise my hand and speak up when it comes to speaking about the truth or integrity or how we can do things better. That's a really important point. Highly sensitive leaders are interested in integrity, in doing the right thing. It may not just be about making money. Now, they don't want the company to make less money, but they want the company to do things in the right way and for the benefit of all. And so what you will find is there are a lot more highly sensitive women leaders speaking up on the topic of women on boards, getting more women on CEO teams. That is something I have spent quite a bit of time on in my career lately, and I'd like to thank all of the other women speaking up on these topics in a very positive and sensitive way. The feminine leadership style is probably one of the most important pieces of the 21st century in terms of building an economy that works for everyone. Because what you will find with feminine leaders is they are more likely to have not the largest businesses, but businesses that keep going and that are sustainable. And they want to help other people. For feminine leaders, it's not just about making money, it's also about improving the lives of other people. They want to do business in a way that has integrity, conscientiousness, that does the right thing for everyone, whether it be their employees, their customers, their shareholders. They are excited to create positive energy within the world. But if we invested in them, we would really create a modern-day renaissance. I believe that sensitive leaders and feminine leaders are the key to a modern renaissance, and I look forward to sharing a lot more. I'd like to offer you the opportunity to work with me as an executive coach. You can contact me at parthenonadvisors.com. I named my company after Athena. She was the goddess of wisdom and knowledge. She was also the helper of heroes and heroines. You can learn more at sandrarupp.com and parthenonadvisors.com. I would love to work with you one-on-one as an executive coach or a career coach. You can actually do that virtually or in person, but I work very well on a video call or by telephone, working one-on-one with you. I suggest about 3 sessions per month, and I would be happy to work with as many people as I can. My rates vary by skill set, so do contact me to learn more. I'm Sandra Rupp, and I'd like to thank you so much for watching. If you are highly sensitive, I hope this video has been helpful to you, because I want to make you who you are as you are, and that is my gift to you.